Hey guys, welcome to another review of a RV session that I did yesterday. It is 080312, intent to show me the target or site images connected with tag 080312 from crvviewer.com. This was done 4 p.m. Wednesday, 26th June 2004. Emotional state, physical state, just list down your quirks and disruptions and distractions. A little bit of a doodle, managed to get up to this much before I felt I was ready to do the session. So yeah, had a problem recording the original session, so I'm doing this review. I prefer the original sessions simply because as soon as I probe them, that's my original reaction that I get from any impressions in my sessions. But the reviews are good as well. You get to hear what any opinions that I may have, or ideas, or anything else that I may have thought through the session at the time, if I can remember. And yeah, so I don't mind these sessions either. So let's kick into it and see how we go. So it's 080312. So if I've already looked at the target, and I should be showing some images up at the moment of the photographs and the target, which was a Chinese school inside a cave. The school is located inside the cave, so it was very interesting to have this session because I thought I got it totally wrong. And I had a lot of confusing impressions that I couldn't really piece together other than the consistencies around the cave-like stuff, but you'll get to see it, and I'll get to show you. So let's kick into it. Alright, so with the ideogram, it was a basic ideogram. I labeled 3 parts, one that I could feel waves or flows, this one here was structures, and this was sort of energy or anxieties, something along those lines, and noted them down. So 1, 2, 3, boom, got my probe points. First one up here, so as far as touch 1, feelings felt, flowing down back, flows down back, cool, tingly, wet, moist. So this impression here felt like my back was subtly, not literally. The impression was cold, moist, sort of like a wet towel, partially wet towel on your back, or almost wet towel on your back, or all over the back of me. And that's what I felt. As far as the link to this cave, what I could really sort of understand, maybe what it could be, is the cave internals. So moist walls, moisture, water, and that sort of thing. So really, I thought it was more of an environmental sort of key. But yeah, tingly means movement for me, so definitely moving water. It's moist and wet. But yeah, that was kind of interesting. Here I've got a AOL of waterfall. The way I put AOLs down is to remove it. It's sort of like a set aside. As soon as I label it as an AOL, my intention is to remove it from my mind as a distraction, and just look, I've dealt with you as an AOL, put you to the side, carry on with the thing. So you'll probably find that I do a lot of AOLs, but really I'm just sort of getting that thinking part of consciousness and getting the idea removed. That's the idea anyway, and it seems to be working sometimes. Now touch 2, this one, it felt like so the impression was, as I'm doing my probe, I've got my arms, my body, my head, and it felt like there was this beam resting all across my forearms, a beam, heavy, cold, weight across arms, felt like it was carried, held. That was weird. Yeah, it did really feel like I was sort of holding something across my arms. And I don't discount that could have been felt, but it could have been a lot of things, but that's what I'll stick to, is that I felt I was carrying something, and it was cold, heavy, and all these descriptors here. And I could feel the coldness across the parts where it hit my forearms. It felt cold. Touch 3, hands feel like movement, moving massage, movements, muscles, hand affinity, movement. Hand activity, affinity. Anyway, this one was really weird. I was doing my normal probe, and for some reason I could feel my hand moving, and it felt like it moved in waves. Hence the massage. It just felt like a wave of movement in my hands, like there was purpose to it, that, you know, it wasn't just happening because it was happening. There was some intention to it, and that's what I felt in my hands, and I just had to sort of note it down, as you do. But it came while I was just resting my hand, and while my hand was rested, I could feel the muscles or something inside my hand area where it was moving in a rhythm of sorts, and that's why I thought it might have been a massage hand, or at least a hand with movement. So that was touch 3. Second page, text 1, feels like hands and feet are cold. So actually what I might do is I'll just put this in behind so you can see exactly the ideogram that I probed, if it means anything anyway. Text 1, so probing each 1, 2, 3s. Excuse me. Let me just get the glasses. Feels like hands and feet are cold. Yeah, sitting in my chair, just felt like my hands and feet were instantly cold. Direction of cold. It felt like it was coming from a certain direction, like in front of me. Cold, this hits inside of the feet. Cold addition. Yeah, so as far as the feet was concerned, because I had my feet spread wide like that, it felt like the cold was hitting the inside rather than the outside. So as far as direction was concerned, my hands were just hitting front on. So really couldn't feel which direction, just that it came from the front, but the feet sort of had it like that, and they were confirming that it was more on the inside of the feet than the outside. So it came from the front direction. Texture 2, hands feel weird, swollen. Could be gloves, I don't know. Thick, slow, cold over hands, obvious, exposed to environment. So it was a cold environment. That's what I got from this one. AOL snow, boom. AOL water, boom. Very cold, texture 3, very cold. Cold temps, cold across forearms, rising up arms. So yeah, my extremities were cold. So hands, feet, my nose was getting cold, my ears. They all started feeling cold. So outside in cold environments, that sort of thing. That's the only place I know where we can get that kind of cold from. Temp, cold skin, exposed to elements, warm body. So on this, yeah, so this one here is basically just saying that while I was feeling cold on the surface of my skin, on my extremities, inside the body still felt quite warm. So it was only affecting the outside or the surface of this persons, or target. Let's move to the next one, temp 1. So, temp 2. Cold layer in front of body. So this one's trying to explain that I got a blast of cold air from in front of me. So as I was lying down here, and that's my arm doing the probe, it just felt like a wall, like a flat line, all going at the same time, and boom, it was cold. It hits me all on the front side of the body. Cold layer hit from front. So definitely cold. Getting a lot of this cold stuff coming through. Cold base felt on wrist and forearms. So this is temp 3 is sort of the same as the initial. touch 2. So touch 2 cold, temp 3, pretty much the same thing. Color silver, blues and reds, greens, darks, blues, yellows, greens, blues, whites, darks. All right. Smell. So in the first smell, I got stuffy, I got thick, the air was thick, smelly, warm, feels enclosed. Yeah, so it felt enclosed a little bit, unsure. And I put unsure because it didn't feel totally enclosed. Smell 2, smell floral, not sure, hot, muggy. I thought, okay, the environment's changing or can change. Not outside, inside smells, many. So this was the complex, I should have put the complex +2, which is smells. You're picking up many smells and they're all complex and you have to try. You can't really, don't want to unravel them a bit, or it's a bit overwhelming. Many others, so I'm smelling other people, just with the people smells and the BO and body odor, sweat, old smells. So I smelt a lot of old smells. Yeah, it's like something that's really old and you can smell it. But yeah, I could smell others. That's why I put many others, because just of the people smells that I was smelling was quite diverse and varied. And the body odor sort of gave it away, because it did smell like body odor too. 3, let's go with 4, page 4. We're on here 1. So here, feel force in front of me. So that wind sort of feeling is becoming forceful. So it feels like it can be quite a force, having to stand up against this wind. I can only think it's the wind tunnel effect going through the cave, if any. Yeah, it just felt like a big force. I'm not too sure what that could mean. What do we got? Plane or boat. So my idea or the thought was, I was the boat and I'm going through the water. Hence those AOLs. Here too, so tingly hands felt. Not too sure what that is. I'm thinking when I did a plane in the past, I could feel its propellers moving, but they weren't my hands, they were my elbows. So in this one, I just sort of jumped to conclusions and thought, it's a plane, because I felt my hands tingling and moving as well. But as far as the relationship to the target, not too sure at all. They could be moving hands of one of the kids, teachers, whoever. It could be anything, but that's all right. Having a stab at it doesn't hurt at all. It's a way of just trying to encourage any sort of ideas that might come to hand. But yeah, here too, tingly hands felt. Just movement in the hands, maybe they're cold or they're writing, or who knows. They could be doing sign language for all we know. But here I've got props, aeroplane props. Hearing 3, arms felt like structures. So this one here, even though my arms felt like structures, when I did the hearing 3, it felt like they broke into tiny blocks, basically, like they identified themselves as building blocks, big Lego blocks inside a big structure, and you could feel the detail of that big structure by the individual blocks. Now that's what this sort of felt like. They sort of broke up into their original pieces. Feel like mini structures, like in details, individual bits. So yeah, I think I could feel the classroom. When I look at the pictures, I can see that it's built from, bits of wood and all that sort of stuff, and it looks very panelly, very put together, very constructed. And that's exactly how my arms felt. It felt like they were constructed of mini bits into bigger bits. Maybe that's what Transformers feel like, who knows. But yeah, it felt like my arms were just a whole lot of bits arranged together, and they built the structures of my arms. That's all that hearing 3 is. Join 1 felt like my right hand wanted to move around, feel movement. Okay, so that's really just my hand was just trying to move, so whatever is happening, somebody's moving their hand on site. Could be anybody. Join 2 was an interesting one. As I was sitting here, I'll describe what this drawing is. This is me sitting at my desk doing my session, RD session. That's my arm, that's my leg sitting on the chair, and boom. The probe, this is what I came back after the probe for join 2. Cold structure, cold surface structure. Wet cover, wet bits and spots. So this, I believe, is the cave structure, which I think is surrounding that school, and I think it's basically what touch 1 felt like. So if we bring touch 1 back, for me, these two are very similar. One was a very quick first cab of the rank impression. This one is a bit more detailed. So in join 2, it felt like I was being covered in a cold blanket with cold spots all over it, like tiny little cold spots, tiny little wet bits, and it was encompassing my body. All around me from my back to the front, but it didn't do my head. I didn't feel anything in my head. It felt like that's why it only goes up to here and affects my body, because it feels like that cold blanket that surrounds everything. I'm assuming, or I am speculating, or I am thinking that that head part is actually the entrance to the cave anyway. It makes sense. The AOL I had at the time was submarine. I thought I was being covered in water. You know, I was being surrounded by water, but my head was still clear, and maybe that head was a big giant ball of glass or something like that, you know, submarine type thing. But no, I believe these two things are very related. Just one's come back with a bit more detail, and that was touch 1. But join 2, very much surrounded, cold surface structures. Yeah, and I believe that is the structure of the cave. Number 3. So join 3. Chin resting on something feels like chin strap. Feel structures over my face. So scarves, masks, hats. It felt like a construction hat with a chin strap or something like that. I don't know. Maybe they're falling rocks. I'm not too sure, but that's kind of what I felt like. But that's speculating as well. I don't exactly know. I'll have a look and see if there's anything in the pictures that might be able to allude to that. Here we are to the first of the snapshots. So we've got snapshot 1. When I probed and closed my eyes, the first thing that started happening was these ribs started to appear, and then there just became more of them, and then I just felt myself going into that bit, into the middle of the drawing, as far as an intention of looking into it, which is why I've put looking down into of whatever this is. And that usually happens a lot when people are looking into you. You tend to be able to understand their intention and actually feel what they're doing. That's me. I believe I can feel their intention looking into something. And yeah, so these sort of all sort of connected. I believe there's some photos which this, the cave entrance looks like consecutive circles, and then you gotta go into the big ass cave. But this was the first indicator of a structure which was covered and closed, that sort of thing. Snapshot number 2, I just saw a structure. It was looked at from the side. So as the perspective is, you're getting it bigger and it's going down smaller, and you're looking at it from the side, and that's what I got as well. And I've seen a couple of pictures from the website where a lot of the structures are actually photographed from this side of the structure as well. I saw poles, I saw buildings, I saw this area here was like, I imagine it was actually people. This sort of looked like a subway, where you're inside the subway car and people are sitting on the side. I saw people sort of lined up and sitting down, but it wasn't a subway. It was a subway. Yeah, that's what I likened it to. It wasn't a subway, but it was, sort of thing. It had the similar attributes that were in the photos. So I think one of the photos, you can see the class and you can see everybody outside and you can see all the windows and stuff. I think that's just a summary of that. Anyway, snapshot 3, for some reason I had to draw this big round circle and it looked like a door on the side, but I haven't found anything in regards to that inside the picture, so not too sure. It could be anything really, but if it shows up, write it down. Yeah, so AOL summary. Okay, now we've got the matrix. Alright, so the matrix topics we have is Sensorals, which is basically the same as the old last few pages, just that you're doing it rather than from an ideogram. You're just taking everything that you've learnt, felt, or the impressions of and everything else, and then you just do sort of a couple of all or nothing type probes and just describe what you feel. We've got magnitude, which is anything to do with size, volume, distance, that sort of thing, length. Topo is topological, which is around shapes, things that look like shapes or have shapes of something. Energetics is anything to do with energy, which is heat, warmth, movement, that sort of stuff. So if you can feel anything in regards to movement and heat, like engines and things like that, or sun, things that are from energy, you might feel some stuff in there, but you can feel it anywhere else in these topics as well. Subjectives is anything emotional. So they're just like the joins in my normal, my previous session, or my up and coming stages. This one's just sort of dedicated to those things and offer a bit more focus and control, or focus anyway. Physical is my modeling type thing. I wave my hands around and I see if I can feel anything tactile. Sometimes I can feel model type shapes and structures and that sort of thing, which seem to align with the target. But anyway, paraphysical stands for anything not solid. So we're talking about smoke, we're talking about mists, we're talking about ghosts, we're talking about things that don't have a physical body but are present in the environment. Concepts is anything goes. Write out the words, probe it, what words come out, even the slightest bit of words. It's a great opportunity to forgive yourself for getting it wrong and only a little bit right, or a lot wrong, a little right. Concepts is where I'd like to do it, because that's exactly what it is. Concepts is not the exact, it's the gist. Symbolics. So symbolics, I look at whatever the impression, visual impression for symbolics is, I return that. And I take that as the intuition showing me what it thinks that this is a symbol of, and I just take it. If it means something to me, to my conscious self, that's great. But that's, it is what it is, and just take it and see where it goes. Personal responses, PR. So that's things like goosebumps, sweats, heartbeat racing, that sort of thing. Physical changes in yourself when you're probing stuff. If you can remember those and you log them down, put them down here. Visuals is my last one, which is just another last attempt at a visual snapshot. And that's basically my matrix. So let's go through the matrix and see what we've got, or I've got. So Sensorals, cold, feet, hands, cold, cold trends up limbs, winds feeling and blowing. So it's cave, it's going to get windy, it's going to get cold, but not much to add. It can add to your impressions, or it can just be more of the obvious. So whatever. Magnitude feels long, out back of body. Okay, so this one was interesting. I also had the AOL sub pick came in there again. When I did the ping, when I do pings on magnitude, I'll explain the ping, is when I do the ping, I envisage that ping spreading out from me, so like echolocation, and anything it hits or anything that it hits that I can sense, I will mark out on the piece of paper. So I have my middle south, and then I have these little rings which go out and ping, sort of, like a submarine. So when I did this, I felt something long coming out my back. It felt like I had a body of sorts. So when I did the ping, I felt something long, and all these pings, all their rings seem to go along. Like if these were moving, and these got bigger and bigger, these rings, they were moving along the structure that I could feel. And that's why I've got these rings here. So if that would be the ring, then it would increase in size, and boom, boom, and that ring would turn into the next biggest ring, and I could feel it coming out this way. So as the ring got bigger, these rings would go out, and they would all head in that direction, and they would map out this long sort of passage. And hence why I put AOL submarine again, because I thought, hey, this looks like a bloody... I had sub already, and I was going to, if you get it two in a row, it's sort of like you're starting to get AOL'd, which means that something's trying to take over your conscious thought, conscious mind is trying to take over, and you're saying, it's a sub, but, you're going to hold it back. So all I knew coming out of this one was when I did a ping, it moved along this long passage and out. So, hint, sub, okay. Topological. So topological is the shapes, and what I got was this big amazing circular thing, and I just sort of cut it into segments because it felt right, and then it felt like there was a door in the middle, and everything was going into it like a funnel, and I drew it like a funnel too, because everything's sort of going into it, into this door. And all I could think of was, when I saw the feedback, I thought, it must be the entrance to the cave, because everybody's going in or going in and out. And I'm putting in going into shape, funnel door. So as far as intentions going, people are going into this funnel. So cave entrance, easy answer, I would say. But you just don't know. You can assume these things, and you link it in your mind, and you hope that it's definite, because it will only be added onto in your head with your database. Funnel door. All right, energetics, hand feel movement a little, so I'm still feeling that hand movement. I've got warmth, thickness, density, flows, and heavy. So I'm thinking gloves, wrapped up, yeah, that's basically it. Nothing much else from that, and I can understand from the feedback, it's goddamn cool. Subjectives, the emotional side, I've got some excitement, I got hesitation, I got a little scared, and a bit of anxiousness. Physical, yeah, I felt this long passage as well, and I felt a whole lot of, I just felt a whole lot of like structure-y bits. These things are just things that I could feel as I passed my hand over an empty space, where I could feel like my arm as it came through like that. Just a passage with a whole lot of detail in it. So cave could be, most likely, could have had more detail. Wish I had more detail, but you know what? That's good enough for me as well. It's all practice. Paraphysical, open air, cool wind, breathe easy outside. So it is open air really, but it's in a cave. Cool wind, yes. Breathe easy, yes. I think it'll be very, it's open air. Of course you're going to breathe easy. Concepts, didn't really get much concepts this time. I think I was getting a bit tired actually. Flows, water, air, wind, very basic. I got flows in the cave, maybe it's by water, I don't know. Air, that's the format in which the flows, that I could feel it. And wind, which is the end concept, it's very windy. Symbolics, so animal shape. Now, I thought it might have been a seal or something like that, but when I found out it was a Chinese school, I was thinking maybe it's a Chinese character. But I don't know. It could be, but maybe next time. But it's worth noting, when I did the symbolic, came back with this character. I don't know if that looks like a lambda anyway. Lambda? I don't know. Anyway, so it was that kind of character. Personal responses, none. Coming up to the last page. So the last one is the snapshots number 1. Now, yep, the big massive tunnel. What it looks like to me is it's a massive tunnel, and you've got rows and rows of, looks like people or desks, or it could even be cars, but it didn't look like cars, but it more looked like people's heads and something else. It does sort of look like one of those tunnels where you go under the river or something, and it's just packed and that sort of thing, so it could be that as well. But I've got the expanse, the cave going. I've got structures. I've got lots of structures. I'm thinking that this might be the classroom. There's a photo of that in there. So shapes, stores, side view. Okay, so I also had, in snapshot number 2 and the last one, I had a lot of panels on the side. I had a side, so it's a side shot view of something that's here. So I'm thinking it's either a building or something like that. I even put up AOL Comic-Con, it might have been setting up stalls or something, but there was a structure up on the side. I was looking over there, the front's from over that side, and I did notice that there's a couple of pictures with side pictures of buildings that are inside the cave as well, which I can only assume it might be one of those as well. And that pretty much is my session. So guys, I hope you had a good one. Let's session closed. I forgot to put that down. All right, guys, thanks for coming along with the review, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.